everybody. Welcome to the premiere, the inaugural episode.
First episode,
that's right. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Of Alex and DJ watch a doc, then talk about the doc they watched.
That's right.
Working title, I think it'll stick around.
It's a good start at least. And I'd be the Alex part of that equation.
That's right. I'd be the DJ part of that equation.
That's right.
DJ Demers, if you want to get really formal.
Alex Nussbaum, if you just like the sound of my last name. A lot of people do.
It really is a great Alex Nussbaum.
Yeah.
Nussbaum.
Yeah.
It's like soothing. It's like a bomb.
It is. It's a soothing bomb of nuss.
So you might have surmised by the name of the show, it's pretty evocative. We're going to watch a documentary every week, and we're going to talk about it. Mm-hmm. Because we love documentaries.
Yeah, no, I want to be able to. I watch a documentary, and I thought to myself, I think there's something missing from this. There needs to be another part of this interaction between me and the documentary, and that is to blab about it with the nearest person I could find, which was DJ.
That's right. I mean, before you'd go on Reddit or something or Twitter and try to find what people were saying, but now we want to talk. Yeah. That's so. What's the word I'm looking for? Not personal.
No.
You're talking to strangers on the internet. These are two friends right now.
We know.
And hopefully more friends online. Join the conversation. Let's talk about documentaries.
Yeah, please, online people, come on down. Check it out. So you're, and who are you?
Who am I?
Yeah.
Didn't I say my name already?
No, but who are you?
I'm DJ.
And how do we?
Oh, I got you. Like an introduction.
Something like that.
I thought I blacked out. I'm like, did I not say my name already? Well, I'm a comedian, a stand-up comedian, in fact. Originally from Canada, live in Los Angeles now, and I'm married. Oh. Actually, everything I've said so far also applies to you.
That's right. You're saving me a lot of time.
So that's who I am. I love watching documentaries. I love learning, but I'm not like the most learned man. There's a dog barking. That's going to happen. We're in my living room. We're cozy. I'm going to kill that dog, though. No, I'm not going to. Don't even joke about that. Not killing any dogs.
No.
Who are you?
I'm Alex, and a lot of the features you described, they apply to me. And so what could I add to that? I also used to work in animation. So I got that. Anyway.
The way you said, I'm Alex, sounded like a con artist who had like 18 different identities, and you were trying to figure out which one you were going with.
Well, yeah, what identification I had in my pocket at the moment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's who we are. We're Alex, we're DJ. Talk to us in the comments about the movie we're going to watch today. We're watching, we already watched Lucy the Human Chimpanzee. Next week, we're going to watch, what's it called? Who Killed... Is that what it's called? Lord.
Is it, it's the DeLorean.
Yeah, Who Killed the DeLorean?
No, it's Framing John DeLorean.
Framing John DeLorean. That's on Netflix, so if you want to be ready for next week's episode, watch that. And if you haven't watched Lucy the Human Chimpanzee yet, go watch it right now, then come back and start this episode, because we're getting into it, baby.
We are.
Lucy the Human Chimpanzee, or as many of the protagonists, the characters in this documentary called it, chimpanzee. They didn't say chimpanzee.
Oh, that's because it was. I think it was produced in the UK.
Was it? But it was all American people.
I know, but the influence is very strong when they start talking to you like that.
Okay, chimpanzee.
Yeah,
I was like,
once you get stuck in the laboratory, you can't help but start talking like.
Yeah, and then you're just trying to get out, but you can't break through the aluminium.
Yeah, that's right. I love that one. The eye isn't there, by the way, in aluminium. Anyway, whatever. I don't want to get into that.
What were you going to say?
Aluminum.
Oh,
doesn't
the eye
have
isn't there. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, they added that.
I mean, the British, nobody said they were smart. They're fooling a lot of people with the accent, but let's be real. That's right, British people. You're on notice. So Lucy the Human Chimpanzee, if you will, is about a chimpanzee that was born and immediately taken away from her mother.
Her mother was given Coca-Cola with some something that would make it fall asleep, and then they took away their child.
Woke up and her baby was gone. You're just trying to enjoy a nice cold Coca-Cola. So you wake up, where's my baby? Yeah. Can you imagine? I bet you she never had another Coca-Cola in her life.
Hey, I'm getting something out of the fridge. You want a Coke?
No.
I don't think so, and I'll keep my babies close. Thank you very much.
But that, honestly, that was within a minute or two of the start of the movie and broke my goddamn heart from the get-go.
It's so sad right from the beginning. It's interesting, too, because these researchers, these doctors, the Temerlins, is that how I'm saying it right?
Temerland, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was in the 70s, and they actually, I learned that they kind of were doing this, it was really a project done out of love. It wasn't like intended to be like some experiment where they're treating it like you're watching a petri dish.
Yeah.
And yet, right from the get-go, you're like, well, this doesn't seem right.
Yeah. So what happened was they took the baby from the mom when Lucy was, I think, 2 days old and gave her to the Temerlands. And what they were trying to do, as you mentioned, it was a bit of a labor of love, but also educational. They were trying to see if they could raise a chimpanzee to be an almost human daughter.
Yes, it was the test of nature versus nurture, and seeing if they could override the nature. Which, honestly, though, it doesn't take long before you realize that an animal that's 4 to 5 times as strong as a human, once it gets to be full grown, might be a little bit of a handful.
For sure. But you know what's crazy is they mentioned it in the movie, but they were saying that was like a time of like great fascination with chimps.
That's right.
And I was like, what do they mean by that? And then so I looked into it a little bit. We were sending chimps off to space. I mean, not just chimps, all sorts of different monkeys, dogs. But these chimps, man, they got bad luck with sedatives because they also would knock them out. I don't know if it was Coca-Cola, but they would anesthetize them. I don't know how to say anesthesia in a verb form. But
I think you got it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. They would put them to sleep, and then they would wake up and they were in space. Can you imagine being a chimp or a monkey?
Jeez. That's like waking up in a coffin. It's like that same kind of nightmare, isn't it?
Yeah,
except
for
with
real.
Stars.
Yeah, you get to look at the stars and then you're dead.
I mean, yeah, that's a terror. And the thing is that the chimps do experience terror. We find out about that later on as well in the film.
Yeah.
So you really are. It is a terrible thing that you're doing to these poor creatures.
Oh yeah, they're 98% of the same DNA as us. They share more DNA characteristics with humans than gorillas. They're closer to us than gorillas.
Yeah.
Like they're chimps are closer to us than they are to gorillas. I mean.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. They're like. I mean, when you watch Lucy in this movie, Lucy, and then they also do reenactments. That's another thing with this documentary. There's a lot of soft, fuzzy reenactment.
Sure, golden lit, and then you really see, and it's a really the very cropped. It's a real cropped view of Lucy, where it's just like you can see, it's like, oh, that's a bad costume, and they're cutting off the worst parts of that costume.
It's true.
Yeah.
And you know what's so funny right from the beginning is they say that the mom that they took Lucy from was at a farm in Florida where chimps were bred to box with humans, like boxing.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I want to know what that looked like. Like, that's terrible.
Yeah, I heard that I did read something where it does. It's pretty much they just come out and somebody just and they'll just take a swipe because they're, like I say, 4 or 5 times as strong as humans. The person's just gone. Like, it's just really one hit. It's just the
chimp does one hit and the human's knocked out,
and they're gone.
But I feel like they would do something to the chimps to give themselves a chance. Humans don't like losing to animals, you know. I feel like they probably like sedated them or put one hand behind their back or something.
So
but
brutal.
They were probably raising them to lose to humans. I doubt they were like they were trying to raise amazing boxers that would destroy humans.
That really does lose its shine real quick. In the,
But boxing chimps it was Florida, so it's a very Florida thing, but it's also a 1960s thing. It's like you mentioned, like you learn very quickly that these chimps are going to do some damage, but they didn't know that yet. It was a time of great exploration.
Which is, I mean, it is kind of strange because, I mean, you figure by the 60s or 70s, we were already interacting with chimps. I mean, you look at really old movies from like the 20s and 30s. You know, you saw some chimps, didn't you? You see chimps?
In Wizard of Oz, there's chimps, right?
Yeah, there's like monkeys at least.
Yeah.
Maybe not chimps. Maybe they never really introduced chimps until later. But I think you see chimps. You see chimps riding bicycles from like the 40s or 50s. I just don't understand how by the 60s and 70s they're still playing around with chimps like this.
Maybe that's where it happened, where they were like, wow, they're riding a bicycle. Maybe they could be my daughter.
Yeah.
And I think that's only one step beyond. I looked it up. They're not supposed to test on chimps anymore because they've tested on them for years, right? Like all sorts of medical stuff. So I guess we're making a step in the right direction there. But anyway, so So
Yes.
Lucy, the human chimp, she's raised by the Tamerlans, right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, they decided to raise her and truly as a daughter.
And it was going great for the first few years.
Yeah, they really connected, and she was having a good time. They were also teaching her sign language, like I think it was like almost 200 words or something like that.
Yeah, she knew a bunch.
Yeah, I discovered too that she even, this is some stuff that's not in the doc too, that she they were able to actually form words in a way too. Like for example, one time they were like it's called a radish, and it was always known as just food, and then it took a bite out of it. And it winced, I guess, and then called it, put together words and called it hurt cry food.
Hurt cry food?
Yeah, it's a radish, it's a little peppery.
It's true. Yeah, so she knew sign language. She was fixing herself gin and tonics.
That's right.
That one seemed a little irresponsible.
Yeah, the way that they mention it, like it was just sort of like, oh yeah, she like to, really, and you're allowed. This is your daughter. I mean, how old? Yeah. How old in human years are we talking about that you're allowing to just fix her own gin and tonics?
I know, but then they also said her breakfast she was eating was like a coffee, some oatmeal, and some orange tang. Other than the orange tang, I'm like, that's what I have every morning. Me and this chimp have the same breakfast.
That's it. Yeah.
We're not so different, Lucy and I. And then she went crazy. Yeah. Teenage crazy. That once she hit adolescence, the Tamerlans had to put her in a cage all the time. Friends didn't come over anymore. And they realized they couldn't raise her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when they showed footage of her, like, her butt is very different from humans, right?
Yeah, it seems to be fairly engorged.
Yeah, I don't know if that's what all chimps' butts look like.
I think those are the organs.
Yeah, the idea of having a chimp around is very cute. Like, I like the idea of it. I wouldn't do it because it's inhumane, but it's a cute idea. But then when you look at the butt, you're like, not so much. I don't need that butt all over my furniture.
I think at that point you have to, I mean, if you're going to raise it as somewhat civilized, I think pants are a definite necessity.
Yeah, why not put pants on her if you're feeding her gin and tonics?
That's pretty much it. I think if you're going to have a civilized drink like a gin and tonic.
Maybe all the footage was after she had a couple gin and tonics.
Yeah, I've been known to throw the pants aside when I've had a couple. I know I keep coming away I keep bringing up things I've found out about this that's outside of the documentary.
That's
but
fine.
This one was actually, Radiolab.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they did in like 2010. They did a piece about Lucy specifically.
Oh.
Yes, and so during one of these gin and tonic incidents, she fixed herself a gin and tonic. She walks into the living room, sits down on the couch, and proceeds to masturbate.
We've all been there, am I right?
So yeah, the pants came off, and then I guess it's kind of out of this curiosity of like, well, it looks like this is really fascinating, this awakening. Maurice, Daddy Maurice, he goes to the mall and picks up a playgirl. So there's this term called speciation, where it's the fact that when we're evolving, species will break off into two, and they get far enough away that they can't have children together, right? They just genetically can't do it.
Yeah.
And so nature makes sure of that by making us not attracted to other species. Oh. So this was like a real kind of breakthrough, because she then started to become attracted to nudes, male nudes. She was looking at male nudes. This guy got her into male nudes. Human ones.
What kind of a dad is
I know, weirdo, right? Meanwhile, I'd always have to search for the stash.
Yeah.
Anyway, but then what happened was when she was around 7 or 8 years old, they brought over a male chimpanzee, and she just freaked out. So it's the fact that she not only was finding humans attractive, she found chimps revolting. So she crossed over and now became this weird, not human, not chimp, mythical hybrid creature. Yeah.
Crazy. Living in Oklahoma in a cage.
Yeah.
And then, so Lucy was the Tamerlan's pet / daughter. Then they started having trouble, so they brought in Janice Carter, was her last name?
I think that's right.
Yeah, Janice. And she was only supposed to like look after her but not interact with her.
Right.
And then they showed that kind of pivotal scene where she finally she could tell that Lucy wanted to groom her, which is very important in the chimp world.
Yes.
And I think in the human world too. When I was watching it, I was like, I guess we like to groom each other too. Maybe not so overtly, but it's a part of intimacy, a building relationship. But
I just like getting my back scratched a lot, actually.
Yeah, I love... By your wife, you mean, or just people in general?
Well, I'll take it from wherever I can get it, but whatever. If it turns into intimacy, so be it.
Yeah, no, I love getting my back scratched.
Yeah.
Or my back scrubbed. Madge, my wife, she'll... I said my wife as if you don't know her, but that's my wife's name, Madge. Yeah. She'll scrub my back in the shower. Sure. I mean, that's intimacy times 1,000.
Sure.
Nobody scrubbed my back before.
No.
Anyway,
No, I believe you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I didn't think that it was even a question of whether or not you believed me. She doesn't scrub your back. You're lying. So she lets Lucy groom her, which is a terrifying moment because Lucy could just yank her back against a cage and essentially kill her. I mean, she could do whatever she wanted with her at that point if she's got her hair. But it ends up being this bonding moment. She ends up becoming very close with Lucy over, I think it's months, maybe years. Finally tells the dad, Maurice, I've been doing this with Lucy. He responded differently than how she reacted. Said, well, do you want to hang with her outside of the cage? Sure. They have this really beautiful moment, again, that starts scary, but then it ends up being this beautiful turning point.
Oh, that was the one where Lucy came out and pinned her down and put her mouth over Janice's mouth.
And she's like, Maurice didn't do anything he said he would do. He wasn't helping me. He just let her...
Sure.
Jump on
me. Maurice, whatever. Maurice is just watching this all happen. He doesn't know. He's interested to see what happens just as much as anybody. And also, I mean, he's just thinking, oh, finally, someone's going to be Lucy's friend because nobody wants to hang out.
Exactly. Yeah. And then within a short time after that, he says, oh, by the way, she's such a handful. We have to take her to the Gambia. We have to get rid of her.
Right.
And release her into the wild.
That's right.
Yeah, this chimp that we raised as a human for 14 years or whatever the time was, we're going to release her into the wild now with no tools at her disposal. Anyway, would you like to go with us? So Janice, the young, I think she's just graduated from University of Oklahoma at this point.
Yeah.
She travels 20 years old over to the Gambia with the Tamerlanes. They end up leaving after a couple weeks. She's supposed to stay for another week.
Yeah.
Ends up staying way longer. But I will say that scene where the Tamerlanes had to leave, as much as I was like, I didn't like them, I also thought maybe their hearts were in the right place, but misguided because it was the 60s, 70s. They didn't know what the hell was going on.
Sure.
I wept a little bit when they had to
say goodbye to their daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a tough one, though. But it's of their own creation, though, this tragedy of their own making.
Here's a question for you. Do you think they had fertility issues and that's why they had a monkey?
I don't think that's any of my business.
It's true. But I wondered, I'm like, because they didn't have kids that they mentioned. Maybe they did.
I think they did, actually, maybe. I think I may have read that they did. But if I'm wrong, and I'd hate to cut off your whole reasoning that they wanted. I was just
curious.
Well, I mean, it does make sense.
So
that would make sense. Yeah, I would say that the fact that they could completely devote themselves to another species as their daughter. But it's such a strange thing. Like they realized, let's conduct this experiment. And then you're like, oh, this experiment failed, which means that we now lose our daughter. Plus we now have to, just leave it up to somebody else to try to have this poor creature acclimatized to a completely different environment. It just seemed like so much to just leave up to her to take care of, to Janice to take care of.
I know. And again, I know it was a different time and it was like everything was a bit more kind of laissez-faire, but like that's a 20-year-old girl you're just sending to Africa.
With an ape.
Yeah. With a chimpanzee in the middle of what was the name of the, it was a buko?
You're talking about the
Abuko Nature Reserve in the Gambia,
and there were other apes there too, like other chimpanzees as well, right?
Yeah. And then she knew nothing. Yeah. They thought she knew. She didn't know that she had to drink filtered water, and I'm not even judging her because I don't know.
She's just taking river water right from the river.
It was just she drank from the one that had a dead rat in it.
There's a bucket with a dead rat.
Oh man, she's lucky.
It's a bit spicy.
She didn't die.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, though there was that thing too where she found out she thought that she had someone watching over her. Spirits were watching over her.
Well, so that's not at Abuko yet. So we haven't even gotten to the craziest part. She spent like a year at Abuko Nature Reserve, maybe less. And then they decide to release Lucy on an uninhabited island.
Yeah.
And she goes with her there. And then a few other baby chimps join after. But for a while, it's just her and Lucy on an uninhabited island. And she ends up spending 6 years there.
Insane. Just her and
then
the chimps.
She said, like you said, that she thought spirits, because she would see lights at night when she was sleeping. What do you think that was? That wasn't spirits, right? What the hell was that?
I mean, to quote George, what's his name again from Ancient Aliens, it must be aliens. I mean, what could it possibly be? I don't know.
I think if you're that alone and that starved for human company, I think your mind would start to play tricks on you too.
That's true too. Yeah. Yeah, it could be just some good old-fashioned hallucinations.
I've been alone in places. Like I did an exchange term in Australia when I was young, and I was 20, and you feel so much when you're like 20. Well, she was around that age too.
Yeah.
And the internet was around. Like it wasn't as pervasive as now, but I could hop on at an internet cafe or whatever. So I wasn't even alone. And I wasn't alone in a uninhabited island. Uh-huh. But the intense loneliness I felt being on the other side of the world from everybody I had ever known or loved was pretty crazy for a month or two before I got used to my new surroundings. And so I can only imagine being alone on an island in Africa, being a girl from Oklahoma
and
with a chimp.
And that's the thing. And also being charged to take care of apes. And there were the other ones too that were, they slept on her roof, and they were like, they were so terrified of the jungle noises that they would
not just stepped on the roof. They would shit and piss on it.
Yeah, they would defecate, and it would run down onto her bed, down the walls of the. I thought, and then she still stuck it out with that. She really was kind of a tough girl, wasn't she?
There was something that felt like foreshadowing and turned into nothing when she was like talking about the dangers of the island, and then she was like, "But they didn't tell me about the leopards."
Yeah.
I thought a leopard was going to come at some point.
Yeah.
No leopard ever came, but I was like, why did she say it?
No, she set it up. Yeah, she set up all that. I guess you want to get a sense of the environment and how dangerous it could be. But you're right. It was. She talked about snakes and I think like hyenas. I don't even know. It was just.
Yeah. Here's another thing I thought of. She was an attractive young girl, right?
Yeah.
If word got out to any of the other villages that there was an attractive girl alone on an island, there's some bad actors all over the world, like people with bad intentions. How did she live there for 6 years with nothing? Like, thank God, good for her, unless she just didn't want to mention it if something like that had happened. But, I mean, how did nothing terrible like that happen with a bad dude just catching wind of...
On the other hand, I mean, you're taking a bit of a risk by trifling with a girl who's surrounded by apes.
True. Yeah.
Bit of a King Kong scenario over there,
That's true, yeah. Yeah, you're going to have to fight through a couple chimps to get there. That's true. But still, if you're a bad enough dude, you're like, I can take a few chimps.
That's true. Yeah, you can tranquilizer gun, you've got it taken care of.
A couple Coca-Colas, a couple Tylenol 3s. That begs a good question, though. I was wondering while I was watching this movie. Do you think you could take a chimp one-on-one?
Well, no, I can barely stand my ground with a regular human man.
You could, though. You just choose not to.
Take a chimp. What are you talking about? Hand-to-hand combat?
Yeah, hand-to-hand combat with a chimp.
I think that's clearly nature steps in and makes sure that I'm not winning that one. I don't think anyone can. I don't think. You think that maybe on in like a UFC cage match type scenario, you think a man can take a chimp?
Not just any man, Alex. This man right here.
Oh, have you got a plan?
I think I don't think I could take a gorilla. Obviously, a gorilla would smash me. I don't think I could take a macaque, those crazy ass monkeys.
Oh, crazy! You don't think you could do macaque?
Macaque or a rhesus. Those one, but a chimp I feel like I could take. I don't know why.
They're strong and smarter. I'm not sure where you're going with this.
They're stronger and smarter, but do they know how to do a rear naked chokehold? You know?
I see what you're doing.
Not that I practice it, but I feel like if push came to shove, because they have the same anatomy as me, very similar. Like a tiger, I'm like, how do I get to their weak point? Chimp, I'm like, your weak points are my weak point, and they're smart, but are they smarter than me? I just feel like one-on-one, I might be able to take one.
I now see your argument, and I think that in a lot of cases, technique definitely overrides strength. But I'm just wondering, do you think that like a 7-year-old boy doing that to you would be successful, or would you be able to just reach over and then throw him around?
But the 7-year-old boy isn't smarter than me.
No, but I'm saying sheer force. The fact that you're trying to slip it into a thing, and then it just grabs your arm and yanks you out of there you go, just give you a yank.
This 4 or 5 times smarter thing that you keep saying, is that a fact?
Not smarter, stronger. That's what you meant to say. Stronger.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
That's right, yeah.
Are they,
Yeah, that's what they, I heard that quote 4 or 5 times.
Really?
Yeah, 4 or 5 times stronger, than a man.
What was crazy is how Lucy responded to anger. Remember, like, there was that one, because she said when she was on the uninhabited island for, like, it was months upon months, I think like 15 months or something, and Lucy still wasn't eating leaves and, like, chimp food. She was, like, wasting away. She was losing all her hair. And then finally, Janice hit a breaking point and screamed at her, like, exasperated more than she had ever been.
That's right.
And then Lucy, a short while later, came and started eating grass. Like, she responded to anger.
That's right.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, she finally, I think she got really angry, and then she said she didn't know what happened. She passed out. Then she woke up to seeing Lucy eating. And I guess she really did. Well, I think the chimps are kind of a angry species as well. So maybe that's it. You just need to lose your shit at a chimp.
Yeah, they respond to anger.
I think that was one of the things they mentioned in the radio lab, where she actually hit, or maybe there's another person that actually got frustrated and hit the chimp accidentally. Whoops. And it went to like another chimp. It went to a kind of an alpha male, and it was like really like one of these moments where like, the alpha male might come at me too, and then the alpha male just kind of barely even looked and just patted the chimp on the head, and it was like, yeah, whatever, just go.
Really?
And so it was actually a really just a good touch and go moment. But anyway, this in this scenario though, I did find it interesting that this chimp was so assimilated into human culture that it wouldn't eat like tree food in the jungle. That's what happened that led to this breaking point, was the fact that it was like so used to just, I mean, it's kind of like, us coming out of a pandemic. I mean, you just get so used to not, going out and having food delivered and stuff like that. It's like Uber Eats. Too much Uber Eats makes you not really want to eat anything else. So anyway, but it did change things enough for her that they were able to kind of like move forward. That was after like about 23 months, I think it was.
Yeah, that seemed to be the turning point. Like right after that was when Janice said she didn't want to leave the island anymore either. Yeah. Like it seemed to be, there was a thing I learned when I went to Australia all those years ago, the W effect of traveling. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
It's like you start out, you're so excited to go somewhere. You get there, you hit the low point of the W because you don't know anybody, you're scared, you're lonely, all that. And then you come to the middle part of the W because everything's amazing, you're in this new place, you're acclimated, and then you realize you have to leave soon.
Right.
And then you go low again, and then you leave and you're low and back home, and then you gradually hopefully come to the end of the W again when you're home and reacclimated. But it seemed like that was after Lucy and her had their little anger outburst and she started eating her chimp food. Seemed like that was them hitting the middle of the W, the way the movie framed it.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And then that was the turning point, and then they started to but then I think after that she's talked about having to like start to withdraw a bit, and that was kind of painful as well. She had to withdraw emotionally so that way Lucy would rely on the others and go to the others. So that was another thing that was it kind of like yet another heartbreaking moment where you could see that this poor creature is like, well, why are you giving me why are you freezing me out here?
Yeah. It's kind of like, I've never been a mother, but it feels like, or a parent, I guess, but feels like parents probably have to do that, you know, like, you know, if you coddle your kid too much, you're not going to know how to interact with the other kids on the playground or at daycare or wherever. So you don't have to freeze them out necessarily, but you don't have to yell at them and shove grass in their face or anything, but they might respond to it. I don't know.
It's true. It's true. I do feel like it's a lesson my mother never learned, and I was coddled until an old age. And now she regrets it.
What do you think when she said she learned more from the chimp family than her human family? Did you take that more of I felt there was almost an indictment of her human family. Like, we didn't hear much about it, but it seemed like she probably didn't enjoy her human family, and that's where that comment was coming from.
I get it. I could see enjoying the chimps more, because you know what the thing is chimps, they don't twist your words. You know what I mean? They
might twist your signs.
It's true. As you're signing, they might break your fingers. But you know, you. Although it's funny, I was about to say that you get, what is it you say? You know what you get. You know what you're. What's that saying again? Yes.
I don't know what expression you're thinking about.
It's the most basic thing that I can't.
You get what you give.
You know what you're getting when you're dealing with a chimp. You're not, you know that. Anyway, I did find out though that they lie.
Chimps.
Yeah. There was a time
because they're close to humans.
There was a time that apparently one of these chimps. This was one of these podcasts or something. Is they crapped, and it's like, who did this? Knowing it was I think it might have been Lucy too. And Lucy said, "Oh no, it was like Susan, like another one who was
classic Lucy."
Yeah, that's right. So they can be a little two-faced as well. They can.
They laugh, they lie, they grieve. They're. That's why it's heartbreaking when you see stuff happen to them, because humans we're like innately selfish creatures. So the closer an animal is to humans, the more it hurts us. Right. It's why like we care more about dolphins and sharks. I mean, that one's a bit of it's not a perfect analogy because sharks also kill us way more than dolphins do. But it's like why we care about, why do we care more about dogs than pigs? I don't know. I think pigs are smarter than dogs, actually. Anyway, I don't know how analogies work, but the point is...
pigs as pets, and that's fine.
It's heartbreaking that chimps, when things happen to them, because you see a human getting hurt.
Yeah, well, that's it, too. It's like, oh, that is a beast, but we're used to treating beasts a certain way, but then again, you can see so much that's familiar within ourselves. You're like, yeah, you know what? I guess maybe I guess it's just a hairy one of me. It's just a hairy me, really, that we're dealing with, you know?
And I'm pretty hairy, so I don't see any distinction.
Not at all.
I'm like that, me, while I'm watching it. And I don't even know sign language, dude. Yeah. I should. I wear the hearing aids. These chimps are like better at being me than I am.
It's true. That's true.
So she's finally on she's enjoying sunsets every night. That was beautiful. Her and the chimps. You talk about just a simple pleasure. Being alone on an uninhabited island with a bunch of chimps, going to enjoy it. And she said no matter what had happened during that day, they were going to put it all aside and they were going to enjoy the sunset.
Every day they do that, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, she was really living in the moment for a while. She was kind of like in this moment, this bliss where she... what did she call it? Like the vile, the vile aspects of the civilized world were outside of her existence. So, just being able to live in the moment, no worries outside of just your basic needs. And I think that's actually happiness usually exists when you don't think beyond what your basic needs. Like if your basic needs are met, and then you don't have all the bullshit that's associated with civilized life, you kind of easy to be happier. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then that all came crashing down, that idyllic life, one day when Dash, the alpha male of this new little cohort that she was leading around, decided to attack her.
Yes.
Dragged her through a thorn bush.
Yeah.
Hurt her. She thought her life might be over.
That's right.
He ended up not killing her, but she knew right then and there that she had to leave the island because her authority had been undermined.
Yeah.
So that was after 6 years and 3 months, I think. She finally, but then she didn't even really leave. She went to a neighboring island so that she could keep an eye on Lucy and the chimps for a little bit.
That's right.
To
Yeah,
make
yeah.
sure that
She
they
would
were
kind of
okay.
like go across the creek kind of thing just to watch them.
Helicopter parent.
Occasionally, just enough to check in. And she did, yeah, she checked in, and Lucy was already starting to, I think, become a little more withdrawn. Like, she'd hug her or something like that, but I think eventually it got to a point where she didn't need Janice anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, there was that heartbreaking scene when she finally went back one last time to say goodbye.
Yeah.
And she had the human elements, the keepsakes that Lucy had treasured when she was with the Temerlands, and she brought him over to the Gambia. Right. The mirror was the main one. And Lucy did not care about the mirror at all. They hugged, and then Lucy didn't even look back when she walked away, which made Janice know she was fully detached.
Yeah, it almost feel with that mirror, I feel like had some symbolism. The idea of the mirror, it's such a civilized thing. It's this idea too of like humans being so self-absorbed, and this idea that it's Lucy went back to a simpler, maybe in some ways more evolved way of living where you're not so self-absorbed. This idea of it was almost like a teenager not needing to scroll through Instagram anymore and maybe has gone on to other things. I say that as a person who scrolls through Instagram.
Was I supposed to stop when I was...
That's the whole problem. I'm saying that we never grow up as a society as it is right now, but there was something about the mirror in particular that I thought, like the fact that it was like a mirror. What the hell do I need to look a mirror for?
Yeah.
But the fact that as a being taught that this is something interesting, or maybe it's just that also like when you're in the wild, there's just enough going on that you don't need a mirror. Whereas in the civilized world, we're always trying to occupy ourselves with something more stimulating or something there.
Yeah, I don't need to know what I look like. I'm just going to rip apart some leaves and I'm going to...
Or maybe Lucy was also just starting to age and really didn't like she feels like she's letting herself go, geez, is this what I look like now?
And she was looking rough. She had started eating and everything at that point. So,
right.
But her hair was all falling out. And
that's right.
At one point. So, yeah. So that was the key scene in the movie, the ending, when Janice finally left. Went back home, which must have been a trip, going back home after being gone that long. Came back a year later to check in on... she went to Bali. She said she did a bit of vacationing and went home. Then came back, and Lucy was dead after a year.
Her remains were scattered.
Just ripped apart. But I did some digging online. I don't know if your Radio Labs episode touched on this. But...
Poacher?
That's what is commonly said, but there were a couple websites that said there's no way it was a poacher. Like, with authority, this other conservation website said there's no poachers in the Gambia that are poaching monkeys, chimps.
Chimps, yeah, I didn't really think for what, yeah. And not only that, but and scattered the body, what, for their liver, some prized liver?
And then it could have been a wild animal, some people said, but do you know, I read this quote on, it was on chimprehab.com. And it said, out of more than 100 chimps that arrived at Stella's project for rehab, Stella was the woman who ran the program that Janice was working for. So out of the 100 chimps that arrived at Stella's project for rehab, a mix of expats, drug addicts, photo props from the beaches of Spain, ex-research specimens, zoo inmates, various confiscatees, etc., Lucy was the only one to suffer the process and still remain essentially unrehabilitated. By her behavior, she always reminded people that her heart and her mind were elsewhere, a long, long way from Africa. Tellingly, she was the project's only female who, having lived to reproductive age, never gave birth.
That's right.
So this person eviscerated everybody involved in this program and said she should have never been released into the wild because she wasn't wild. She was never going to learn the tools at her advanced age. She should have been put into retirement, which is what they call it when they kind of put them in the wild, but it's more of her first place. She was at Abuko or whatever it was called. Not the wild. So whatever happened to her might have even been the other chimps because she wasn't really one of them. It wasn't poachers, according to these other couple websites. But it got me thinking that last part. Do you think part of it was that she didn't give birth? Based on that, the fact out of the 100, she was the only one who was never able to give birth.
So if she didn't give birth, then what do you mean? What would happen? Then what happened because of that?
Well, I mean the depression she felt and the fact that she was never able to get over it. Do you think it wasn't just a rehabilitation, but the fact that she didn't feel she had done the things she's supposed to do, give birth?
Well, that's a question. I mean, whether she has that sense of consciousness of feeling that she wasn't able to fulfill her nurturing side, her matronly side. I don't know. I don't know if that's something that would be, because that seems to be a very self-conscious thing, right? That's something that as a human being we would think in that way. Mm-hmm. But that's the question, is whether they think that, if they're able to think that far in, like if they see themselves in that way, if they're able to look at themselves in that way.
Maybe she could have taken a human baby from her mother after 2 days and raised a human baby to fill that void.
Look at that, huh?
Keep the cycle going.
Yeah, no, that's payback. That would be it, wouldn't it? That would be, maybe.
Can species copulate? Like interspecies?
Well, that's exactly what I was talking about. Speciation is the fact that you can't.
You can't.
That's why there's certain animals that aren't going to create any kind of offspring. So, that's such a strange thing about the fact that she was actually, that was one of the things that they said, was that she was going after all of the males outside of the family. So she's aware of obviously the incestuous quality of anything in fun, but outside of the family, she was looking at all the human males and trying to go after them. This is why friends stopped coming over.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
That would get weird. It's one thing to have a dog humping your leg or whatever, but a full-grown chimpanzee.
This was the mid-70s. I mean, that really ruins a swinger party.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
But even mid-70s, you're like, who brought the fucking chimp to the swinger party? I mean, I knew we were getting freaky, but ridiculous.
I'll try it. Also, there's the fact that Janice had that dream, right? Janice had that dream that Lucy got on a plane, and she woke up and felt like from that something happened and Lucy died.
Yeah, she knew she was dead from the dream.
Just from the dream.
You believe that?
I mean, I guess if it was a feeling, people have dreams. I don't know. I don't know what it feels like to have that experience, but she seems to be she's more intuitive, I think, than I am. She's in touch with her spiritual side when she sees lights flying around, and she's in touch with her dreams. Yeah,
I feel like you'd be able to, as much as I was a naysayer to the spirit energy she claimed she felt in the forest, I feel like if you have that much of a connection with somebody, you might feel their earthly essence departing, even in dream form. I mean, it all sounds a little wishy-washy, but I mean, she felt it and it was true, so.
Well, theoretical physics calls that quantum entanglement, so.
Is that actually the term?
Yeah.
Quantum entanglement?
Listen, I don't like to just bandy about and throw around words here and there, but I happen to know that one.
Are you and I like quantum entangled, like based on us hanging out? Is that?
No, it has more to do with like two electrons or something like that. They're like atoms, like on different parts of the universe that actually can they'll react to each other and something to that effect. I forgot the details. It's been a while since I was.
So you just like to say quantum entanglement, and then no further questions.
Well, when it involves something that's not on a quantum level, and so therefore it's very wishy-washy use of science, then yes, I like to toss it around. But yes, I guess some people can have a connection. I just don't know. I haven't experienced it. I can't speak to it.
Yeah, I feel like I've felt a deep connection with people. I don't know if I'd ever have a dream and know that they passed away, but maybe I'm not open to it. Maybe that's why. Maybe she allowed herself. Mm-hmm. Her connection with Lucy was certainly something beautiful, and you spend that many hours, that many days with somebody. She knew Lucy better than most humans know each other. Yeah,
I mean, she had absolutely no television and telephone in the way.
Yeah. Speaking of airplanes,
yes.
when they originally went over, to the Gambia from Oklahoma, like when they first sent Lucy over there.
Yes.
Do you remember they said that she was screaming in the cargo hold the whole time?
The whole time, yeah.
And so the passengers could hear her. Could you imagine? That's got to be, what, a 12, 15-hour flight from America to the Gambia? Can you imagine the whole time just hearing, like, you don't even know it's a chimp at that point. I imagine it's got to sound kind of similar to a human, especially when you're not hearing it that well. Like pressing your light. Like, is everything okay down there?
Yeah.
It sounds like somebody screaming. Like, no, everything's fine.
Yeah, it sounds like someone's screaming. It sounds like somebody's damaging the plane. I'm already feeling a little anxious because I don't like flying to begin with. The idea of a screeching ape adding to that anxiety, I can't imagine. And for the whole time too. And the fact that you wouldn't think that maybe that's not the best thing to do is to put an ape in a cargo hold. Like, how terrified would Lucy be in this situation?
Give her the Coke.
Give her a nice drink of Coke.
The special Coke.
I think at that point she'd take it.
She was wearing a diaper even as an adult, or no?
I can't speak to that. I don't know. Yeah.
A Coke, a clean diaper. I mean, I'm a full-grown man, and I'd be cool with that if every time I got on an airplane, they were like, "Here's a special Coke and a diaper. We'll see you on the other side."
It's sleepy time for Lucy. I think that was a strange choice as well, and a terrifying thing for everybody involved. Reminded me of that Twilight Zone where there was a guy who saw like an ape. It was what's his name? William Shatner. He saw a guy on the wing. He looked like an ape. He's screwing with the. Anyway, you can watch that episode whenever you want.
What do you think? Like, of the whole movie? I'll tell you, I thought it was great when I watched it, and then after researching more afterwards, I still loved it, like, for the emotions it made me feel.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a subjective movie, and I feel documentaries should be more objective. I'm not a professional documentarian, so I enjoyed it. But when you think about it, other than Janice, there were no interviews. All of the Temerlin stuff was like actors portraying their voice based on notes they had written and stuff like that. Yeah. So it was all Janice. That's a one-sided look at a pretty bad situation for Lucy.
That is true. Yeah, there wasn't like, where's all the extra footage? Where are the other points of view? It was just Janice and docudrama. It was that combo. I didn't love that about it as well, because I do find that when I see things with a lot of docudrama now, I feel like it's trying to pull at my heartstrings a little too much. Mm-hmm. It's not so much a document as it would be as if we saw a lot of other footage.
Yeah.
I mean, I was even thinking actually when I saw pictures of when there's that moment where they were like having like one of their last embraces between Janice and Lucy. There's a picture of it.
Yeah.
I guess, did she set that up on a tripod? I mean, there's no one else around.
Exactly. Who took that picture? Yeah. A chimp? Could a chimp take a picture?
I mean, why not? I mean, if you can fix this gin and tonic, I should hope you can snap a photo.
Well, even speaking of gin and tonics, that story you told me that you heard on Radio Lab about the masturbating to the Playgirl, how does that not make it in the documentary?
That didn't make it in the doc. I'm very disappointed with that. Having said that, if you want to keep it PG, you want to be able to show this prime time, you want to be able to tell your mom, catch this Lucy doc. Maybe.
I love the idea of sending that to your mom and being like, oh, you're going to love this part especially. Fast forward to 5 minutes and 30 seconds in. You're going to love it.
Yeah, I don't have that kind of relationship with my mother.
No, me neither. I don't think anybody should. I don't believe that's a hallmark of a healthy relationship with your mom.
The same way it's not a healthy relationship between a man and his chimp daughter, to be honest, to be buying Playgirls. There's just less examples
to point to in that situation. He didn't know.
He just didn't know that it was frowned upon to buy your daughter a Playgirl so she can masturbate in the living room.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's why maybe they had kids originally and they all got taken away because he was giving all of them Playgirls.
Yes,
you just don't know. He's like, well, am I allowed to do it with a chimp at least? I mean, what are the rules here?
This is all he wants to do in his life. He's trying to find loopholes around being able to give Playgirls to. Anyway, this is very unusual. Yeah, I would say that there are some things that were missing or whatnot. But I know, but this was Janice's story, more so I think than it was Maurice's story. So yeah,
I will say we've shit on them a lot, but I mean, rightfully so, for saying, how did you not know it wouldn't work out to have a chimp as a daughter?
Well, that was one of the last lines that Jane said, that she said that if I did it, it was almost like if I did it again, I wouldn't take a chimpanzee away from a chimpanzee's mother.
Yeah. Well, I mean, good lesson to learn. It sounds like pretty obvious, but
took you this long to get there, but okay, at least you got there.
But having said that, there must have been some beautiful moments before Lucy became a rambunctious teenager.
No,
like
that's true.
Their beautiful little chimpanzee daughter running around, and like watching a baby grow up.
Very cute,
little furry, cute baby.
Little
like
connection.
As much as I know what they did was wrong, like damn, there must have been some pretty sentimental, heartfelt moments in that household. They seemed like they really loved her before they shipped her off to the Gambia.
To the Gambia.
I never said before Gambia before I watched this movie. Yeah. I always thought it was Gambia.
Gambia River? That's what it is? So it's the Gambia around the... It just sounds like it's like you're trying to talk like you're someone's dad. Is it the Gambia? I don't know. It just sounds like... Anyway, that's never...
I liked it a lot. It was one-sided. It was a little docudrama-ish, as you said. But in the moment, I mean... there were a couple moments where I cried. I'm a crier though. Yeah,
well, I mean, there were moments definitely. I mean, when we found out that Lucy died, I mean, I was watching with my wife, and she definitely expressed that moment through tears. She said, "Why are we watching this?" It hit her a little too hard.
It's beautiful.
But,
sad but beautiful.
But true.
I guess that's kind of like what you think when you watch the most powerful documentaries. Like, why are we watching this?
Exactly.
Yeah. Why are we watching
this?
Yeah.
And the answer is because you're learning something,
feeling something,
knowing something.
I can't think of anything more.
No, I don't like this. Please, let's not use this as a clip.
Well, I hope you enjoyed us talking about Lucy, the human chimpanzee. I almost always say "and" because of...
Lucy, the human chimp.
Oh, no, not "and" in, because Lucy in the sky with diamonds.
That's right.
Messes me up.
Right.
So, but Lucy, the human chimpanzee, if you have any thoughts on what we talked about or anything to add to it, leave a comment, or we have a phone number as well. Text us 707-506-6257. Hit us up. We're going to, before we start next week's episode, we're going to talk about the comments we got. We'd love to, form a little community here, right?
Yes. Join the community, comment, and then comment on other people's comments. That's how it works.
Yeah. And next week, as we said, we're going to be watching Framing John DeLorean, which is on Netflix. So watch that, and then you can be in the know when we, just talk about it next week.
Talk about the doc that we watched.
So thanks for joining us for this premiere first episode.
Yes, our first and not only episode.
That's right. We appreciate you joining us. I'm DJ Demers.
I'm Alex Nussbaum.
See ya.